Alrighty, what's up, everyone? This is a new episode of Sports Harder coming at you live on this Friday evening. As always, I am your host, Maddie Lukewarm Ice, and I actually have a special co-host for the evening, Chris the Gorilla Binder. He's enjoying Vegas, maybe putting some bets, making some money out there, hopefully for the podcast. But my special guest for this evening is Colt, and I'm gonna butcher your last name probably. Schroeder.
Schroeder.
Schroeder. There you go. See, I knew I probably would not say that right. But how's it going there tonight, Colt?
It's going good, man. How you doing? I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Oof, you might have to turn down the volume a little bit so we don't get that feedback. I know that feeling. I've had that in my life before.
I'm all the way down, so
there we go.
Hopefully we don't have it. There we go.
Better feedback there. There we go. Well, Colt, if you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit, what type of sports fan you are, what sports you like, what teams you like, where you're from, the whole jazz, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up in Western New York, so that should pretty much just tell you where my fandom lies, right? There's not many of us that grew up in that area and are actually allowed to like somebody else, right? So I'm absolutely a Buffalo Bills fan through and through. Buffalo Sabres. Where I go sideways a little bit is I'm actually a Boston Red Sox fan, and that only comes from growing up playing Little League and stuff. I went from the Braves, so I was like a huge Braves fan, and I love David Justice, and that's why I love the Braves. But then when I moved to the next level, we were the Red Sox, so I immediately just fell in love with the Red Sox when I was like 12, and it just kind of stuck with me from there. Basketball, I don't really hang in the basketball world too much. I enjoy the college ranks more than I do the NBA. I am in Sacramento, so I have the Kings in my backyard here. So I do go to some Kings games, and I grew up a little bit liking the Kings, but that was mostly just because of the Fab Four, right? Chris Webber, and I liked Chris Webber when he was at Michigan, and I grew up in that era, so I kind of did like the Kings, and I do have a Chris Webber jersey from well before I even moved here. So that's kind of where my fandom lies, but I'm truly football is number one in my life, and the rest of them just kind of are there because there's no football all the time, right? So I got to find something else to do. But yeah,
that's true. That's true. Unfortunately, football doesn't go all year round.
No.
But we do have the luxury of off season, which is NFL draft, and it's going to be. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. A huge QB carousel coming up this off season. I feel like.
Yeah, we've already seen some of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of movements that are going to be going on. Did you want to do a shout out for your podcast that you're working on and doing before?
Yeah, so I just I actually shout out a couple of things if that's cool, because I spent my summer in the Bills season with the guys over at Built in Buffalo. They kind of gave me my shot and got me moving in the podcast world. Dave Myers and Akeem Richens, over there at Built in Buffalo. So if you're a Bills fan, football fan, if you like content and good content, they've got it going on. So you should go check them out. For this off season, I just launched my own show actually last week. The second episode is going to get sent out actually as soon as we're done here.
Awesome.
I recorded on Wednesday and got it all ready to roll, so I'm going to launch it today. That's called the Buffalo Nerd. And what I'm doing is it's a little bit different. I still doing football and going to be chatting, that kind of stuff. But I have a son that has cerebral palsy, so I'm a fan of foundations and things of that nature. So the big part of the show is going to be centered around every guest that I have on. We're going to talk charity, a charity of their choice, something that they're a big fan of, foundations, organizations that they like to back. So my first guest was actually, her name's Jenna Cottrell. She's the sports anchor for the local Buffalo, Rochester, next city over from Buffalo. So we chat a little bit about the Leukemia Lymphoma Foundation and just kind of chat, about that a little bit. So it's still football. We talk Bills, We're doing NFL, we're doing gambling, we're doing all the gamut still, right? But the center of the show is meant to just kind of give people an opportunity to learn about something new, something cool that's happening, a foundation that's doing really good things for everybody. And so we kind of start out with that. So that's where you'll find me, the Buffalo Nerd. That's going to be my main mission. moving forward, spreading the word about foundations and charities and that kind of stuff. So, I'm out there looking to come on to places like here. You offer me to come on, which is awesome because I absolutely love coming on and, being parts of other people's journeys. And, you guys are been grinding a lot longer than I have, realistically, and so it's nice to get on with other people that are putting in work and trying to do something cool for everybody, so I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we appreciate you being on. I know Chris wish he could be here too, so we could kind of have like the three-headed monster of the podcast.
Right.
But he's enjoying, like I said, he's enjoying Vegas.
Yeah,
He's
I can't
having a
blame
fun
him.
time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like...
can't blame him for that. That's for sure. Well, we definitely appreciate you being on though, and spicing it up, mixing up. Like you said, we've got a lot of episodes. I think this one is 96, so
Yeah.
we're almost up to 100 episodes.
Awesome.
We don't have a big fan base, but it started off with, just me and one of my friends just wanting to have some fun, wanting to kill some time. We always talked about it at work all the time. And then we were just like, well, why not just, talk about it on a podcast,
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, I do it mostly just because I want to meet new people. Right. So it's fun talking to different people. So it's that's part of why the show that I'm doing, I'm I know a bunch of guys in the Buffalo podcast space, but I'm kind of trending away from that a little bit in my show that I'm doing right now because I want to hear other people's opinions of the Bills. I want to chat about just other things going on with the team and stuff like that too. So my goal is to get in front of as many people as I can that I don't know this off season, right? And do a lot of first person and first time ever meeting somebody like you and I are right now, right? Just sitting down and talking football, talking sports, having a good time with somebody else that enjoys it the same way, right?
I like it. I love it. Well, I definitely have some questions for you about, Bills and everything like that. But first, we'll get into the Super Bowl because with our podcast, unfortunately, with it being on Fridays, we have a long wait period before, being able to talk about certain things like that happen on Sundays. So, so the first thing, we always like to call this segment, What's Going Down? So what's going down was recently the Super Bowl. Pretty crazy. It's one of those things where anybody can debate until you're blue in the face if Tom Brady is considered the GOAT or not.
I don't think it's a debate anymore, really, right? I mean, like, he's the best. As much as it sucks to say it, he's the best.
I mean, when it comes to rings, yes, he's definitely he's the best because he's gone to 10 and has won 7. I mean, that's unfathomable. Now to talk about the game a little bit, it seems like the first half was a lot of penalties, especially going towards pass interference and holding and everything. And even during the halftime with the sports analysts for CBS, they even said, I feel like the refs are kind of, putting their hand in it a little bit too much. They kind of just need to go back to the way it used to be and just let them play. And Super Bowl is usually the biggest one where they hold their flags. You usually don't have a lot of penalties in a Super Bowl. Do you feel like the refs were a little generous to Tampa in the first half of the game?
So I'm going to give you the biased opinion on the other side of this, actually, because, me being a Bills fan, we just got done playing the Chiefs. And yes, I have hard feelings towards them. Right. But on top of that, if you actually go and watch the Chiefs play and you go back and watch all their games and things of that nature, what they were getting called for, they do all the time. This is what they do. They hold a lot. They grab a lot. They get away with a lot of things. So yes, was it probably not the right situation to decide that all of a sudden that you wanted to start really holding them accountable for what they were doing? But if you go by what was actually taking place, I mean, they were penalties, right? There wasn't any of them that I felt were just like, that's not a penalty, right? Like maybe close, but still, yes, it sucks that it comes in a Super Bowl, but I almost feel like it's a bailout for the Chiefs a little bit for coming in not really ready. It looked like almost to me, or just Tampa was that ready, right? Like they knew. I mean, I don't know if you've heard any of the stuff afterwards, where like the interaction with Brady and Mahomes, and then Kelsey comes up and talks to Brady, and he basically says like, I had a feeling you would figure it out, right? So wait, like, so you didn't think your team was going to win? I mean, is that like what you guys came into this game with? Like you were the defending champions who've lost only one game all year. I was telling people prior to the game that if there was anything that I thought would actually take place would be Kansas City would come out gung ho, right? Like, and just start going to town. But
Well, yeah, because the first time that they had played the Bucks, I mean, Tyreek Hill had over 200 receiving yards in the first quarter. I mean,
Right.
like, and then he didn't have like he had like two catches in the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he had like 30 yards or something like that. It wasn't, he was shut down. And that's if you go see. So when they played the Bills the week prior, we gave up a ton of yards to Hill and to Kelsey. And prior to that, when we played them earlier in the season, Hill had 30 yards receiving. Kelsey had 80 yards receiving. I mean, we held them way in check. And then in the championship game, they just kind of did what Kansas City somehow tends to do. They just kind of started killing it. And in this game, they couldn't do it. It looked ugly. I mean, it didn't look like Mahomes had a chance to breathe. Even when he had a chance to breathe, he didn't look like he knew what he was supposed to be doing, right? Because he said afterwards that wide receivers weren't where they were supposed to be or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. But he was having a hard time, right?
Oh yeah, and drop passes don't help either. I mean, if your receivers are dropping passes,
in the face. Yeah, I mean, take a shot to the face with a football that was thrown to you as a pro. That's tough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mahomes was running for his life. I mean, the whole game. Because the offensive line was so beat up. I mean, when Fisher went down the championship game with a torn ACL, I mean, one of your best offensive linemen goes down, and you're not going to have him for the Super Bowl or torn Achilles or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, and to me, then if you come in knowing that, and you're going against Tampa Bay, who has a good front, right? Like, and they're gonna eat, and they're gonna come and get you. You didn't change up your game plan to like be chipping every play or like doing. I mean, you brought in two guys in the Super Bowl that weren't in your starting lineup normally, right? And they're now you're defending your $5 trillion quarterback who you think is the best player in the world, right? And then you don't chip or do nothing. You just try to let those guys hold up against those four. Sure, I can see that in the beginning, but the first 3 times they blow past you, you can't continue that. So I felt like they got like hit in the mouth and they didn't respond at all. They just kind of were like, oh crap.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was watching it with my wife, and she's a big Patrick Mahomes fan. She loves the Chiefs, and she was really worried. After the second quarter, after the first half was done, I said, don't worry. Andy Reid is going to adjust, and he's going to know what to do in the second half, and they'll at least have a chance. Like, I didn't say they would win, but they at least, because usually the Chiefs can score 14 points in less than a minute, and so boom, like 14 points. Yep. So I was just like, it'll be fine. And then, like you said, they came out and literally didn't do anything different. Like there was nothing changed.
Yeah, it looked the same. Like they were just kind of like, oh, we're not going to win today. And they just like, we're like, okay, let's pack it in. Tom Brady's on the other side. Right. Yeah. And I get that. Right. I mean, if I was betting on this game, then I was 100 before the game. I took Tampa Bay, on a show that I was on. I'm like, Tampa Bay is, especially when you were getting 3.5 points with them. I mean, like I didn't have any thought in my head whatsoever that this game was going to be a blowout. And then to see Tampa Bay just whoop them I was more pissed actually. And I text one of my good friends during it. And I was like, the only thing I'm really upset about in this, because I wanted the Chiefs to lose. I did not want Mahomes to win a second Super Bowl. I was disappointed that this was the representation of the AFC in the Super Bowl. They just looked bad. Yeah. And I thought the AFC was better hands down from top to bottom this season.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you compared AFC to NFC, it just seemed like, the AFC was head above water of everybody else, especially with just the Bills and the Chiefs alone, just those
we had teams. 11 win teams not getting in to the playoffs, right? The division was tight this year,
and then tough. You have the NFC East who, the freaking Washington football team gets in, like
I feel like that division must have a meeting before the season, and they just like spin a bottle or something, and that decides who is going to have the chance to win. And then besides that, they just like kind of just fumble their way through. Like it feels like the past 4 years, they've not had a clear cut good team in that division.
That's true. I think the only time they ever had that was maybe when Dak and Zeke, their rookie year. And
the first one? Yeah. But even then when they got in, right, it was just like, get out of here. You guys don't belong. Which I'm okay with because I'm anti the Cowboys. So
Oh, well, then there you go then. I mean, that's like 90% of the fan base around here. Like it's either
Yeah, I think that
Cowboys
I saw
or
like what was this meme? I just saw something like the NFL decided to um make it to where like the home team would no longer have home field advantage, so the Cowboys would never have to worry about it. Something like that. It was some weird thing where they're just like totally trashing on the Cowboys. And I'm like, yeah, I love it when people trash on the Cowboys because Jerry and America's team have not been good for a while.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And yeah, I saw a meme earlier. One of my friends who's a Washington football team fan posted it, and it was like Tom Brady's daughter like holding the Lombardi, and it was just like, yeah, Tom Brady's daughter has held a Lombardi trophy sooner at 8 years old than the Cowboys have in the past 20 years or
Yeah.
something like
Well, that's the
that.
same for the Bills too, realistically. She's been around more Super Bowl trophies than we have, but
Yeah, well, yeah,
a lot of them. Yeah, she's been around for almost all 7 of them, I think, right? She's got to be like right around that age, isn't she?
I think so. Yeah,
She's
they
been
said
around
she's
for a
eight
bunch
years
of them,
old
I
or
think.
something.
It's
So
just she's been around for 3 or 4 of them at least. Wouldn't that
so
be nice? We can't even get one.
hey, I feel you. I mean, the Rams' best shot was against the Patriots, and we couldn't score a single touchdown. So I mean,
Yeah, I know that's tough when that happens. It's almost more disappointing to get there and show up like that and have a game like that than to not even win it at all. Like I feel like if I like the loss is fine, but to go there and just like have something completely disappointing happening where you're like the Chiefs, you put up 9 points and you're just like, holy crap, what did we came all season for 9 points, huh? Oh, that
yeah.
sucks, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that I kind of brought this up the other day with Chris, my co-host, that, it's kind of odd that, the Rams high scoring offense that season gets to the Super Bowl against Tom Brady, scores 9 points.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs high scoring offense all season gets to the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and then only
Yeah.
scores 9 points.
There's a
Like,
common theme there, I think, right? And it's unfortunately it's Tom Brady, and he already came out and said right after, like, we'll be back for next year, and it's like, oh, good,
I mean,
great.
yeah. I mean,
Another Tom Brady year.
Realistically, and we've talked about on the show a couple of times, Tom Brady's longevity and how much realistically he has left, like going forward. I mean, I predicted on the show and said, I can maybe see him going maybe another 2 years and then calling it good. But if he gets injured at any point in time during that time, I don't see him being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like rehab and come back. Like I feel like at that point he'd probably just be like, okay, I'm done. Like,
Right. Yeah.
especially if it was a major injury, like a torn ACL or something like that. Like,
Right. I don't know though. He also is the kind of guy that would probably try to come back from that just to prove everybody wrong, right? To like that he is the best, but he is injured, right? We just saw like during the Super Bowl parade. That's the first thing that I saw when he was on the boat there. I was like, what's he have a knee brace on for? I don't recall any word of anything going on with his knee. And then immediately after that, it was like Tom Brady's having knee surgery. So it's like, interesting. I wonder what he's got going on with his knee. So I think he's gonna gradually just start to break down a little bit. But the way that, I mean, if you looked at his jersey at the end of the game, it looked like he had a brand new jersey on. I mean, that offensive
right.
line keeps him clean. That guy could play 5 more years realistically, the way he's going right now. But I agree with you. He's probably got, and it's going to depend on what they can do because they got money problems coming up real soon, if they want to try to keep that team intact. So it'll depend on that too, I think, of how good that team can be. I imagine he thinks they've got one more run in them for sure. Like next season, they could probably go for one more run at it. And then
Yeah.
he may check out after that.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, trying to make it to more Super Bowls and try to win more Super Bowls, I don't know really what he's, trying to prove since he's already surpassed everyone at this point. Do you feel that Patrick Mahomes is going to have that same mentality of Brady or like a Michael Jordan or, someone like that that's like so meticulous and so like I want to be the best, I want to be the greatest, that he's going to be able to rise to that same level? I'm not saying he's going to get to 10 Super Bowls like Tom Brady did, but to even attempt to, get multiple rings, after getting the first one.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think Mahomes is that great. He's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's at that caliber of where he's gonna be like taking. I mean, if you look at guys like Aaron Rodgers, right? He just won his third MVP and he's only been to the Super Bowl a couple times. So I mean, it's a super hard thing to actually get to a Super Bowl year after year after year. And it'll be interesting to see what that team can do, how long Andy Reid is going to continue to be the head coach there. That all that stuff I think plays in. I don't think it's that, to me, that's not, Patrick Mahomes hasn't shown me that he's like capable of just carrying them to multiple Super Bowls, right? The way that Tom Brady has kind of done it over a few years where he just willed them to Super Bowls. You could see it, right? And he was capable of doing it. I don't feel that I'm seeing that from Mahomes yet. I think he's still learning, which is fine. I mean, he's a young kid, right? I mean, he's still learning. He's only a few years in. But for the money he's being paid, the expectations he's going to have on him, I don't know that he's going to be able to keep it up. I actually think that their window might be like trending down right now, actually, after this loss. To me, like, he makes a lot of phenomenal plays, but I don't know how long that can last consistently in the NFL when you are a young, like kind of a smaller quarterback that's going to take a beating. I mean, he was already hurt this year. I just feel like some of that stuff could catch up with him, that playing style that he has, that throughout time that could really take an effect on him, which could hinder his career.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to be able to do what Tom Brady's done, it's because he's been able to keep his body the way that he's been able to keep it and be able to stay as healthy as long as he has. I mean, I think he's only, if I remember right, I think he's only had like 1 year where he got injured and he tore like an ACL or something like that.
Yeah, he was out for 1 year, and that was all that I recall as well. Yeah.
So I mean, if you're only out for that 1 year from an injury, as long as he's played and he's not a mobile quarterback, he's never been a mobile quarterback. He's always stayed in the pocket, so he's never had to worry about getting a concussion from getting hit or something like that, or sliding and then getting hit. Because Mahomes got injured because he was running the ball and he had the option to pitch it. He decided not to. He kept it and got hit and got injured. So, but I feel like everyone's that's the new era of the NFL. Like every NFL era has like a certain type of quarterback. And right now everyone wants the mobile and throwing quarterback. They want the combo, and Lamar Jackson, obviously is a big factor in that too, with him winning an MVP. But anyone who's listened to this show, me and Chris have never really liked Lamar Jackson. We've never really liked his play because, it seems like all he can do is really run the ball. He's never been really an accurate thrower. I can see, why, the NFL is going towards that. And this draft, I mean, Trevor Lawrence had his pro day today, and of course everyone was oohing and ahhing over it.
And I don't know why people bother going. I mean, he's going to be like the number one pick, right? Like if you're any of the other teams, like why do you even care to go? Like you've already seen film on him. The Jaguars are going to take him, right? Like, so to me, it's like a mute point to even show up to that. Just going to be like, unless you're planning on making a move.
Trading up or something.
If you're going to try to go get him, then sure, go check it out. But I think at this point that he shouldn't even need a pro day. What do you think? He's not going to make good throws while he's running around with nobody running at him. And like, he's been throwing footballs his entire life. Going to put shorts on him and nobody's going to rush him. And you don't think he's going to throw good? Like, I don't know. I've never really understood those ones. Like the guys that don't get a lot of play in the national media. Sure. You should do something like that so people can see that you can make those throws, but you've seen him do it for years now on the national stage, right? Like, I don't feel like going and watch him do it in shorts is going to make or break your opinion of him.
That's true. I was telling my wife earlier, I was just like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars after that handed him a playbook and was like, here, study up.
Just start looking. Just start looking at this because we already know what's going to go down here, right? The only thing that I would be concerned with him, and actually what I would want to see, I'd be like, can we actually just have a day where we just tackle him a ton and see if he can take hit after hit after hit? right? Because he's tiny. I mean, he's a slender dude, really, for, coming into what he's coming into here. I mean, there's big men in this league. A lot of the guys that he's going to be throwing to are bigger than him, right? So like
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. That's my only thing with him is going to be is if he can hold up and take the beating. Because if you watch Joe Burrow this year, I thought he played phenomenal football. He looked the part 100%, but he was getting killed. He
Oh
was
yeah.
literally getting killed. When you're like, some of these tackles, I was like, dude, just lost his head. Like they just destroyed him, right?
Yeah.
Like get him out of there before he is dead, right? Like it was bad. So Trevor's not going to go to a good football team.
No,
So
no.
to me, I would rather see that he can take tackle after tackle after tackle because he's going to be running for his friggin' life.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the number one overall pick as a QB, you're not going to a good team. And, no matter what year it is, if you're getting picked first, you're not going to a good team. And, 90% of the time, you're going to a team that has a terrible offensive line. And so, yeah, you're going to get destroyed. And, yeah, going to Jacksonville, it's not going to be any different. Like,
Right.
and, the defense isn't going to, help them either because, all the people that they had on defense that was so great have all left.
Yeah, they already got rid of them all. Yeah, we talked about this the other night on the show. To me, it's funny because right when you getting to the number one pick, you get all the money up front, right, and you get paid. But the guys that go to like 30, 31, 32, they're going to play for a Super Bowl contender again, and they're learning how to be a pro from a winning football team in a winning organization. You're not coming into this crap team that can't win a game, right? It'd be different if like Jacksonville's had some good seasons and then they just had one crappy season that they got the first pick. No. They've been crappy for a while now, right? So like it's trouble. I wouldn't want to go there.
Well, when the Jets originally had the number one pick, I was just like, well, if I was Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't want to go to the Jets.
Yeah.
Just because of the organization itself. It just doesn't seem like it's run very well. It's not, all the players want to leave. That's kind of a big sign, a big red flag of just like, hey, like something's wrong here. Like,
well, and you're in the AFC East, so you've got Buffalo who's trending up. You've still got Bill Belichick, and you've got Brian Flores down in Miami, who's got a lot of first-round picks still, and he's been developing a really good football team down there. So you're walking into a situation where, like, all this talk of Deshaun and going over there to the Jets and stuff, I'm like, I wouldn't want to go to the Jets. Like, there's nobody to throw to, and then you have to play against 3 good football teams now, right? Like 2 times
twice
a year, you're going to play 3 good football teams. I mean, so that's potential 6 losses a season just in your division, right? Let alone trying to beat anybody else. So I wouldn't want to go there right now. I've been hammering the whole time that the Jets should trade that pick. They need to get as much as they can get because they need more than what that first round pick at number 2 is going to give them, in my opinion. I mean, you can get Justin Fields, you can do whatever you want. There's still a lot of other things that need to go right in order for him to be successful. They already did it with Sam Darnold. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He's been in a bad situation. Yeah, Adam Gase is a terrible football coach.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like trash, like terrible football coach.
Yeah.
And Darnold's had nobody, right? And then you're just going to repeat the cycle and try it with a different guy. I mean, you're just not setting these guys up with anything good to go along with it. It's very difficult to be successful.
Well, that's true. And, we've always had the debate on here and I've always thrown it up. And so since you haven't been on the show, I'll throw this question to you and see how you feel about it. So what if you do like a reversal and you put a Patrick Mahomes on a Jets and you put a Sam Darnold on the Chiefs? We have said, and I have said, it would be a completely different situation. Like Mahomes would be having his career going down the tubes and not being able to do anything. And Sam Darnold, not necessarily saying he'd have as much success as what Patrick Mahomes has had with the Chiefs, but he would have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. He'd have all these weapons and people to throw to. So, I mean, do you feel that it would be any different if the roles were reversed, or it's still like, it just depends on, the quarterback that's going in there?
I'd still say the Chiefs would be more successful than the Jets. Because they're a better team, like you just talked about. Like to me, yes, the quarterback is the main piece to the puzzle. You get a good quarterback, you can win football games. We were looking for years trying to find a quarterback that could play good football for us, right? But this is a team sport. As much as that quarterback can be great and as much as he can throw the ball right where you need it, we just saw in the Super Bowl, some of these guys can't catch it when it hits them clear in the face, right? So it takes a lot of other pieces to the puzzle, right? There's, yes, your quarterback and having that guy that you can give him the ball with just a couple minutes left and you've got a chance. Yes, that's awesome to have, but getting to that moment is because of a lot of other pieces to the puzzle. And I think, yes, if you were to just Mahomes' talent would probably get the Jets a few more wins than what they have, but I would say that the Chiefs would still be more successful than the Jets. The Chiefs would lose probably a few more games than they've won, and maybe they wouldn't have a Super Bowl potentially. I don't know. I mean, but I would say that the Chiefs would still turn out to be the better team.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why, I have a feeling, some of these top quarterbacks, I feel bad for them, when they get drafted because, they go to this team just to know that nothing's going to happen with them. Nothing's good
Well,
is going
then
to
on
come of
top of
it.
that, your team wants to keep you, right? So they offer you this massive payday. And so then it's a choice of yours to believe that you take all this money and you're set for life. And you also may know that you're never going to be a legitimate contender to win a Super Bowl if you stay with that team, right? Because they're kind of trash and they're always going to be trash kind of when you're trying to build that way, at least the way that we've seen it work so far. I mean, a lot of the teams that we're seeing successful, like the Patriots, they got good and then everybody wanted to go there. I think that's the other reason the Chiefs are going to struggle. They paid Patrick Mahomes huge money, and then Kelsey's going to command huge money. Hill's going to command huge money. All those teams with Brady, those guys were taking pay cuts. I mean, Brady this year played for 25 million. Mahomes is getting close to 50.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, that's what it takes to win in the NFL. You heard Mike Evans afterwards. I don't need money. Put this team back together so we can do this again. It takes a team.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I mean, that leads us to, Deshaun Watson and the Texans and what's been going on with that. And, Deshaun, we've kind of compared it a little bit to like the NBA, Harden was upset, so he demanded a trade and he wanted out because he knew they were going to do bad. So he wanted to go to a better team, why am I blanking on his name right now for some odd reason? The guy that wanted to go to the Lakers from the Pelicans.
Anthony Davis.
Yes, thank you.
Excuse me.
Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
On a crappy team, demanded a trade and went to the Lakers and got a title. So now Deshaun is like, okay, I have all this money, but I would rather win, like is basically what he's saying. I know I have all this money, but I would rather win. So the Texans still reporting that he's going to stay a Texan. They're taking calls, but they're not gonna deal him. If Deshaun does like stay with the Texans, does this create a problem with the Texans, like in the sense of maybe he's not going to try as hard, or he's going to sit out, or pull like a Le'Veon Bell? That's always, of course, worst case scenario. But if you had like a crystal ball, what would you say would be the future of Deshaun Watson? What would you predict is going to happen in that situation?
Yeah, I hate that we've reached this point, right, where guys can kind of do this, especially guys that just got paid. It'd be different to me if he was making like 12 million and they didn't want to seem to pay him. And he was like, I want out if you're not going to pay me, right? Like I need to be paid more, but he's getting paid huge money. He just signed a huge deal, right? So you're immediately asking that team not only to trade you, but you're asking them to trade you for a lot, right? Because they want a return and this team's got to pay you that takes you, right? So to me, I think he's going to end up staying there. Is it going to be a disaster? Yes, because it already is a disaster, right? This team has been in turmoil internally. You could tell this whole season for sure, if not last year. And then on top of that, this guy that they just hired, I mean, he's supposed to be like well-known around the league as a great guy, good football coach, this, that, and the other. He was like the passing game coordinator for the Ravens. Did they have a passing game? Like, I didn't know that the Ravens had a passing game, right? Like, I didn't know that they like, so to me, it's like you brought in this guy. Like, if I have Deshaun Watson, I want the biggest offensive guru I can get to try to convince him that we are going to change what the Texans are and this is about to be completely different. I feel like they brought in a guy that's kind of just going to try to weather the storm status quo for a couple of years. And at that point, they're still going to be trash and he'll probably be fired. And then it'll be somebody else's turn.
Yeah.
But if they would be, in my opinion, they would be dumb to let him go because he is a great quarterback. And sure, you could get a bunch of picks, but are they going to be Deshaun Watson? I mean, I don't, you've already seen him. He just had his best season with the worst team he's had. Right.
Yeah.
So like, to me, you got to keep him if you can. But if somebody wants to give you 3-4 picks for him and you're in as much turmoil as you are and it clears your books, I'd feel bad in the end still. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not putting the weapons around him to like help him out, you know, kind of what's the point? If your quarterback's gonna, you know, play great and you're still gonna be 4-12 or 4 and whatever they were, you know, what's the point in doing that?
Well, now
You know,
JJ Watt's gone too, right? They just let him go, and their
yeah,
defense was already suspect. I mean, Watt basically called them out during the season that the team was giving up, right? Like, so your defense is giving up. Your quarterback is now like, yeah, right. What like why would I want to be here? Yeah, you know, so I don't see how they're going to be successful. And then if you look on the flip side of it, you're now going to have Trevor Lawrence in your division, right? You know, whatever he's going to be, but he's going to be in
yeah,
your division. The Colts are a great football team. Tennessee is a great football team. So you're not like in a division where you can afford to have a trash quarterback. You're never going to make the playoffs, right? So you're going to, if you lose them, I feel like you're going to be at the bottom. And then if you keep them, I feel like you're going to be at the bottom, right?
yeah,
Like, I think they're just going to be at the bottom either way until his contract gets a little easier to dump or something else. Like they get some players. I mean, every time they get somebody good, they just trade them away. You know, like they're like, oh, David Johnson seems really good. Anybody want him? Well, yeah, we'll take him. You know, like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks.
it was
We'll just,
like DeAndre Hopkins. You know, it's just
yeah,
like
like, how do you let these guys leave?
you figured, you know, you would get some number one picks from them, and they only got what, like a second or a third? Maybe it
Yeah.
was a third.
Well,
I
it's
can't even
because they paid
remember.
him so much money already, right? So that's going to be the same thing with Watson. You're going to be like, wait, you're paying him how much? And you want 3 first-round picks? Like, I'm not sure seeing how this equals out for us, right? Like, we're going
Yeah,
to bank our franchise on this guy who's good, but we're going to take on a ton of money and potentially not have picks for the next 3 years. Like, that's risky business in the NFL, no matter how good the guy is realistically, because your team we've seen can fall in a heartbeat. You know, like the Seahawks were great and they've tumbled, you know, San Francisco took injuries this year and they fell off the planet, you know, and they were a really good football team last year. So to me, you just can't let a guy like that go. You got to find a way. And I think as soon as they hired that guy, they said, we're not going to find a way.
yeah,
Because
basically.
I don't see how you inspire Watson when you bring in a guy who was part of a not good passing offense and he's supposed to be the passing guru. I'd be like, wait a second, what? We couldn't find anybody that knows how to do offense? Like legit? Like you got Bieniemy, you've got all these guys sitting around the league that you could have easily given their shot, right? To an offensive mind, at least make them feel a little better about what's taking place.
Yeah, and that could be more encouraging for other players to come and play for the team
Right.
as well. You know, no one's going to want to come and play, you know, now that they've hired that guy. So it's just like,
Well, and especially when the leader of the team is basically like, I don't even want to be here.
yeah, yeah,
Right. That doesn't
exactly.
inspire many other players on the team to be like, yeah, let's go. You know, but they do have who like they got AJ McCarron as the backup, right? So I mean, he's the most winningest quarterback in Alabama history, you know, so maybe they'll be all right.
You got
You know,
something going there, you know,
yeah, you never
hidden
know.
gem. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, JJ basically getting released today. That was kind of breaking news. A lot of speculation about where he's going to go. I could see him going to Pittsburgh to play with his brothers. Some speculations about the Packers. I know he definitely, obviously, the plus side of with the Steelers is being with his brothers. Plus side with the Packers is, you know, potentially going to a Super Bowl, you know, with Aaron Rodgers there. So it's one of those things where I don't see him going to some random team where he's going to lose. It'll be a team that he has a chance to win a championship.
Right.
Where do you think the best landing spot most likely is going to be for him?
Well, I'm hoping we make a run at him. I'd like to bring him in. I think we could be a piece like that away from being able to get back and contend. But yeah, I agree with you that he's gonna play somewhere where he believes he's gonna have a chance to just make a run at a title at this point, right? He's up there in his years. He's probably got 2 years left, right? He's probably gonna sign with somebody for a 2-year deal, 1-year option right after the first year. If it's good for the team, good for him, we move forward for the second year. But yeah, I could see the brother thing would be awesome, right? But you have to believe that they're also a contender too, right? If you want to go there, if we're going to say that, and I'm not sure that they are. With Juju being a free agent and things like that, we'll see what happens with that team. Yeah, Packers makes some good sense. I think he would be a good fit for us, and a piece that we could really use as just a good veteran guy that's still got some left in the tank. I don't know how much, so he might be a little too rich for our price tag, because I don't think we could probably pay what he's going to want to pay. So I've heard some Seahawks talk in there a little bit too. But yeah, I agree. 100% going to be a contender. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there's somebody that Tampa can't bring back, and then he's like a Buccaneer right next year. Right. I wouldn't be stunned.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I saw an ESPN report saying that OBJ might become a Buck, so it's just let's just throw another wide receiver in there.
Stupid, right? Well, it's going to be interesting because Godwin's a free agent, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do there, because he should get paid, right? I mean, there should be some good money coming his way. So it's going to be a matter of, I don't know if he's necessarily one of those guys like Mike Evans where he's like, yeah, I'll take a little less, to come back and go after another Super Bowl, because, for a lot of these guys, and I don't blame him. I mean, next year could be your last year. It's not like this for everybody. It's not Tom Brady for everybody, right? It's some guys it's a 3-year career, some guys it's a 7, 6, 5, so Godwin, best thing he could do is take the most money he can get, right? And at least he's taken care of if he goes down, and he's been hurt. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if they get somebody like that, that's the kind of stuff that makes me lose faith in the NFL, right? Like it's like we're not doing the dream team thing in the NFL, are we? That can't be possible, right? Like we can't do that, but
all the teams in the NBA that are looking for that big three, they're always trying to, get the big three, and that's all they need. And
they've already got a big 5 in Tampa. Do they really need another one? Right? I mean,
don't need to add on to it. Yeah, that's very
I mean,
true.
I'm actually not a big OBJ fan. I don't, but with Brady, he would probably have his best year ever.
Probably. Yeah.
Something like that would take place, right? Just like a Randy Moss type of season when he was with Brady, something real stupid would take place, where he'd be setting records left and right, and we'd have to deal with how good of a wide receiver he is again. When I don't know that that's the truth, but whatever.
Well, I mean, the rumor mill, once it starts going, it's anything's possible,
Yeah, it's fun for sure. I enjoy it. I mean, it's fun to think about it, especially when it's your team. I mean, the Bills signed Antonio Brown for an hour. This past off season, I think he was on the team for an hour, allegedly, right?
I was gonna say, really? I don't even remember that happening.
Yeah, that was the talk. It was he was in town, they were gonna sign him, and then the next word was he was signing with somebody else. Right. It was he was there for an hour. So, but it's fun anyway.
Yeah, it's fun anyways. Well, let's talk about the Bills then. And you were saying one of the pieces maybe that would be needed, obviously, is JJ. So with the way the season went this year, kind of the focal point is, at least you would think, is how to get over the Chiefs is what the goal is, and obviously adding Stephon Diggs was the best thing that the Bills could have ever done, because they were the second, most dynamic, quarterback wide receiver duo, other than Mahomes and Hill, I'm pretty sure, were the top. So, with that, what other pieces or what other things does it take to, going to be able to move forward? Because I almost feel like the division is kind of the Bills' division now. They've kind of, taken the torch from the Patriots since Brady left. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you saw in the Super Bowl what it takes to win, right? Against the Chiefs is you just have to get to Mahomes and you have to disrupt their ability to throw their little 3-second passes and do that kind of stuff. And our defense didn't show up at all in the championship, which was odd because we've been playing really well,
yeah,
so I do believe that we need a defensive line overhaul a little bit. I think some of the pieces need to change. Star Latulier was out this season as he took the COVID opt out early in the season. So he'll be back next year, which could be a boost for us because he eats up a lot of bodies, which could really help the front. But the front needs to get improved. Matt Milano's a free agent, and it sounds like we're going to let him test the waters. And if he tests the waters, he's probably going to get paid. So he's probably not going to be a Bill next year, which means that linebacker becomes an immediate position of need. Like absolutely, it's a big step down when he's not there. So if he leaves, I would anticipate that that linebacker position is going to be the top priority. I don't think that they would look at the defensive line as much, but the defensive line, linebacker, we still need a CB2, excuse me. And I think we've had a couple guys play well there, but I'd like to see it kind of solidified for a longer term than what we're seeing right now. And final piece to me, if I had my choice, we need a running back. Singletary to me is not the guy. I was saying at the beginning of the season he wasn't the guy. I do like Zach Moss, and I believe that he is going to be the number one running back in Buffalo next season, and I believe he rightfully could be the guy and should be the guy. But I'm intrigued to see potentially like a Mark Ingram or somebody that's going to cost a little. I mean, you saw we kind of went after Bell before he signed with the Chiefs. Like you can tell there's a feeling in the building that we need to kind of make an improvement there. So if those are my things, and then if we lose Josh Allen, we're like in major trouble, right? Like they're the backup quarterback. We got to do something to try to improve it. Matt Barkley was our backup for the past couple of years. He's a free agent this year. I'm not going to be stunned if he's back because he's cheap and he just knows the system and things of that nature. We got Jake Fromm, that we drafted. He literally did like 2 practices and then he became like the COVID guy. Don't talk to anybody, don't touch anybody, don't do anything in case we need you. So, but to me, the defense is what I feel was what lost us that Super Bowl, or that championship game. Was the defense, right? The offense, they didn't score as many points as they could have. They shut us down. We took a couple field goals that we wouldn't typically take, but offensively, I feel like we're in a good place. But at the defensive side of the ball, we need to shore it up a little bit in just those main areas, I think. And I do believe the same, like you said, that we will kind of own the division, I think, for a couple of years here, at least minimum, or we should be the team owning it. But we're close. And I think we already can beat the Chiefs where we are right now. But if we had a couple pieces, I think it would really flip it in our direction.
Yeah. I definitely agree with the running back thing because Moss did do a really good job, I feel like. But I feel like the NFL, the kind of to win, you need like at least a 2-headed monster at running back. You need at least 2 guys that if one guy's out, the other guy can go in and still produce the same way, type of
Right.
thing.
Well, it's tough to judge our running backs too because we barely ran. Right. I mean, we did not run the ball a lot. I mean, we went some games where we ran like 10 times the entire game. Right. Like, so they didn't really get a chance to really get going and do their thing. But yeah, I think we could do better there.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers proved going to the Super Bowl the year before that because they had a 3-headed monster at running back, and anytime one of the running backs went in, you knew they could, break it off. And I always thought, why are they praising Jimmy G so much when really it's just the running game, that is,
right.
and the defense carrying them, to that Super Bowl. So.
And you don't have to change it up as much, right? You can keep running your offense. Like some of these running backs are like so different from each other. It's when you bring them in, it's like, okay, well now we have to change things up. He's not as good at blocking. He's not as good as running between the tackles. Now we got to try to run outside. And it's like, well, we've been running inside all game and that's working, but he can't run inside. So now we got to run outside. And they're like, well, why run? Like, so San Fran proved it. They didn't change anything. They found 3 guys that could run to the outside, and that's what they did, right? They just kept running to the outside. Stop us if you want or can, but
Yeah.
we're just going to keep running to the outside.
Yeah, and Jimmy G more or less was just a what do you want to call it? Like not a controller. What is it called?
Yeah, he's what they call him, I know exactly what you're thinking of, and I know
You know,
I just can't think of it now either that I'm being asked to think of it. He's a game
yeah,
manager, right? He's like
yeah,
a game manager guy, right?
yeah, yeah,
He's never, and I think we know that they know that now with all of the talk so far this offseason that they're looking, right? They're looking around to see if there's a better quarterback available.
yeah, exactly. And one of those quarterbacks is Carson Wentz, and talks about him. Reports were that he was going to be sent out by the end of this week, but he still hasn't been. So I don't know if that's because people are backing out now, or there's not as many people that are calling and asking about him. But I feel like Carson Wentz, I could see him going to like a Colts, because the Colts need that piece. Obviously now since Rivers retired, but it's one of those things where the Colts were looking really good too as contenders. And
Got a good defense.
a good defense, yeah, and exactly, and a couple of those plays, if they would have went differently, maybe could have changed the momentum. Like when they went for it on 4th and goal and turned it over, that was a momentum killer. So, do you feel like Carson Wentz would fit in like one of those areas, or do you see him going to a different team that would be a better fit?
Yeah, he's interesting to me. If I were San Fran, the guy I would have wanted would have been the guy that you guys got. I would have been going for Stafford. He would have been like kind of my top choice, really.
Yeah,
Or even Matt Ryan if he was available. I would have went that route as San Fran. Trying to get Wentz. I'm not sure that Wentz is that good. Right, is kind of where my hang up is with him. Like, I'm not sure that it's necessarily that like the system isn't working or there's like some kind of friction there that's really the cause of what's taking place. I'm just not that sure that he's that good, right? So I if I was the Niners, is he a step up above Jimmy G? Yeah, probably. Right. Well, he's definitely more mobile. He's definitely able to, get out of the pocket better than Jimmy can. And you don't have to just run this play action type of offense all the time with him. Like you kind of have to with Jimmy G. He just can't do very much. But I don't know that that would be the way that I would chase. And I don't know that I'd give up picks for Wentz. Like it feels like
yeah,
it feels desperation a little bit to me to give up picks for Wentz because he's pretty unproven. He's been hurt. Right. I mean, like, and when you've got a guy that's like, he can't seem to get along with the coach for some reason, like, is that really going to change with the new coach? Or is it just like kind of that's the guy? I don't know. I mean, it's tough to
yeah.
say.
I feel like it was almost like the owners more so than the coach, because I mean, obviously the coach didn't like the ownership either and asked to be let go.
Yeah, which is never a good thing, right? Like,
Right. I mean, that's basically almost like the kiss of death for anybody else that wants to come in to be the head coach, because the previous head coach basically was like, "Oh yeah, this is not a good situation, so I'm leaving." Like it's basically a big, sign saying, "Don't come here."
yeah, don't
Like,
come here. And everybody's like, yeah, we'll take Wentz. But it's like, but wait a second. Like, he's on a team that's in turmoil. Like, why do you really want him? Right. Like, and he hasn't won in a while. Realistically, I mean, yes, they won a Super Bowl, but he didn't even win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was
Right. I
gonna
mean,
say.
like, Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, and that was the other funny one, right? Where they're talking about sending him to the Bears and getting Nick Foles back. It was like, who's running the show over here? And you should immediately fire them, right? Like they're going to trade back for a guy that they traded. Like that to me just makes you look like you were the dumbest human being on the planet, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, can we get him back?
And we changed our minds.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Backsies, like we
backsies,
would
yeah,
have.
like, and we'll give you like a first or couple first rounders for him. It's like, oh yeah, you guys can have him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know. The Eagles have been a mess this year. I mean, I think we saw that like early on that they were like in turmoil. You could tell it just didn't feel right. It didn't look right. You could tell that it wasn't right. And when the average person can see that just by watching, that it's toast, right? Like it's gone way south when the average person just looks at the team. They're like, these guys don't really look like they're trying all that hard or like even like want to be here.
Yeah, and
Right.
especially in the last game of the season that they could have knocked a team out of the playoffs, and they basically gave up.
They just handed to him. Yeah, it was like they basically were just like, yeah, yeah, go ahead. You guys win. It's cool. We don't care. No big deal. If I was on that team, I'd be like, you got to be kidding me right now, right? right?
Yeah.
Like you did what now? The backup's going in. Why? We're winning,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Yeah.
thought our goal was to like, and most teams typically try to like finish the season on the up and up, right? Like even if we're having a rough year, let's at least finish on a positive note. Not them. They were like, we're winning. We're winning. This is too positive. Just shut it down.
Tone it down a little bit,
Yeah.
like
Who's that other guy that we just signed that is no good? Yeah, go ahead. Get in there, dude. Get in there. We got to see what he's got for next year.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
exactly. Maybe we'll want to start him,
yeah, like get out of here. You just handed Riviera a ticket to the playoffs. You're like, I don't like the Giants coach. I like the Washington coach. So yeah, let's call this one.
Yeah.
Pull them.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things of the NFC East. What is the quarterback situation going to look like for any of those teams? Because, Dak Prescott with the Cowboys right now, potentially being franchise tagged again with that, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because, I mean, it's the Cowboys and they can't make up their mind about Dak, know. So do you feel Dak is the right, I guess, quarterback for them, or they're kind of just wasting their time with keeping him with all these franchise tags?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Cowboys ever. Right. Like it just always feels like they like should be good, or like how doesn't that work? I mean, you've got supposedly like the number one running back in the league. You've got two good wide receivers on the outside, and you can't seem to figure it out. Right. Like, or every time it gets to where it's a competitive game, or it's going to be like a close game that your team should show up, they don't show up. Right. They lose all the time. So I don't know if is that the quarterback? Is that the leader? I don't know. But the term they to me feel like they're so uneasy too. Like, why, if I were Dak, I would not be like content on being there and giving them everything that I've got when they've strung me along for now a second season without giving me a deal while everybody else is getting deals. Like, ship me out then, right? Like, if I would be in a much better position if he was the quarterback complaining about wanting to be out right now instead of Deshaun, who's got money, right? Like Dak's played good football for a couple seasons now. He hasn't been able to get him over the hump, but I can't say that it's all his fault, right? Like I think he's limited in some aspects, but he's definitely done way better for them than they've had in a long time. And you have to pay that, right? I mean, you pay for that. I mean, it's the price of admission is you pay that guy, but you're just like every year, it's like slap in the face. Here's a franchise tag. Slap in the face. Here's a franchise tag. We love you. We love you. Franchise tag. Let's talk contract. Yeah, here's the franchise tag. Just sign here. Cool. Thanks, man.
I mean, that was basically the Kirk Cousins situation when he was with the Washington football team. They were just like, oh, well, prove yourself again. Prove yourself again. Prove that you're worth the money. Prove yourself again. And then,
Well, and especially in that division. I mean, like, if you keep Dak, you have probably the best quarterback in the division, right? Like, I mean, Philadelphia, who knows who they're going to technically, I mean, Hurts, sure. I don't believe in Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL. So he's never going to have my praise until I see him win like multiple seasons in a row, because they just don't seem to pan out. I haven't seen any of them. Washington, you got Alex Smith, and then you've got Haskins, who you just let go of, right? So he's gone now. So what's the situation going to look like over there? They kept what's the other guy's name?
They signed Hennessy
back, right? So he's the one that they re-signed back. But then you go over to the Jets and the Giants, and you've got Daniel Jones, right? So you're like, you have the quarterback.
He trips over air as he's running.
You have the best quarterback in the division right now, right? Like, and if all you have to do to be in the playoffs every year is win your division, I feel like you should pay Dak Prescott money and quit just giving him this franchise tag. But on the flip side of it, I do get it, because he's asking you to pay him a lot of money that puts you into a position where you have to be very good with your money moving forward, or your team can suck really quick, right? Like managing the salary cap with a Patrick Mahomes contract, what Dak's contract could look like, what some of these contracts can look like. You have to be very good at what you do, or your team is going to struggle. So it's, to me, if I was them, I would keep him. There's no better option out there for the Dallas Cowboys right now. There's nobody else that their team is tragically good. Like, I think that's like a mean, nice way to say that. I don't think that they're ever going to really be that good. They don't seem to have that mentality. right? Like they have the ability to just kill teams. And I don't know what it is, but if I'm them, I take him and I keep him as long as I can, because at least I'm going to be in the playoffs every year, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think they deserve to pay him. I don't think Dak deserves to get paid like a Patrick Mahomes or like a
Yeah,
Deshaun
yeah,
Watson, but he does deserve to get paid and
yeah.
have like a long-term contract. I don't know if Dak, if that's what's killing him is because he wants to be the highest paid. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I
like,
haven't heard really.
yeah, I mean, I know last season they offered him like a good deal and he didn't take it. And again, I don't know how all that works. Sometimes the players are like, well, I just let my agent handle it. And if the agent says no deal, then it's no deal. And it's just like,
Right.
well, at some point you guys speak up, you pay that agent. So you just gotta speak up and be like, hey, well, I want that deal. Like, that's what I'm worth. Like, or,
Or if you're that scared of the money, why not float this idea and just try to trade Dak to the Jets? Be like,
get
here,
Sam.
take him, give me Sam Darnold, and give me your second pick.
Yeah.
And you pay him. I'll draft Justin Fields or somebody else and try it out with him, and I'll bring in Sam Darnold for a season, and neither one of them cost me money, really, right? So I keep it
Yeah.
cheap so I can try to pay other positions and see what happens with one of them. But besides that, then if you're not going to do something like that, then just pay him and quit putting this piece in the road between you and your franchise quarterback, right? Where you're just like, he feels unloved and you're just kind of like, yeah, so we'll see you Sunday, right? Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
It feels like the Office Space to me with him. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Saturday, and on Sunday, could you just sign this franchise tag again?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then we'll draft another wide receiver in the first round instead of helping on defense where it's needed,
Right. Yeah, they've needed help on the defense side of the ball for a few years now,
Yeah.
and they don't do anything about it.
And they went and got CD Lamb, and it's just like, okay, what was the point in doing that? Like,
I mean, I do like Diggs. I mean, I think he's going to be a good cornerback for them. But the way that team is trending, as soon as he can leave, he's going to leave, right?
oh
Like
yeah,
that's the other piece of it, right? Is if you don't start putting together a team that's winning, even if you do draft really good guys, the moment they can leave, they're going to leave, right? Because somebody's going to pay them, and they can get paid by a team that's winning, right? So like,
yeah,
so like if you have to turn it around, or you're just going to start losing all your players. The reason you have a draft is so you can develop young players and you sign them and you keep them on your team long term, right? Like you draft them and they're yours for 10 years because they were the right move and they fit your culture and your team. What the Cowboys do is come in, try it out, look how fancy we are. Yeah, so you want to get paid? Ooh,
uh,
yes, we don't really do that here. So yeah, about that. It just feels to me like it was like that for the Bills forever. I mean, even when you hit free agency, if you're not winning, people don't want to go there,
yeah. If you don't
especially when,
change the culture, like if the culture is like, okay, we're used to losing and that's just how it is, then because that was the whole thing with the Browns when oh, on Hard Knocks, what was his name? Why can't I think? I'm blanking on names tonight for some odd reason.
it's because he's a
Um,
Brown.
yeah, Landry. When
Jarvis.
Landry
Yeah.
was on Hard Knocks, and he basically told the wide receiver group, he said, "This team has a culture of losing, and that's what you're used to. That's got to change. Like
Right.
we got to stop that." And
Mhm.
it's the same with other teams. If you have that culture and that's what you're used to, yeah, other players are not going to want to come. It's not going to seem enticing because it's like, well, why do I want to go to a team where they just feel like losing's a norm? Like,
Right. Yeah. Or it's like the Bills did it for the longest time where we would reach points in every game where even this year, because I'm so used to it, we would come up against like the Jets and I'd be like, we're going to find a way to lose this game. Right. Like, just because that's the culture that I was so used to seeing of the Bills was like, we look good, we're competitive, but as soon as it comes down to the moment where we have to win or do something right, we're not going to do it and we're going to lose. And that we've changed that the past couple of years. But if you can't do that, you sit down at the bottom of the pack in the NFL for a very long time and you just can't get your way out. I mean, look at Detroit, look at Jacksonville. I mean, look at Cincinnati. A lot of these teams, when you fall, if you don't get back up real quick, you stay down there. and there's no coming back to NFL love. And even when they've expanded the playoffs, you're still not getting it, right? Like you got to change it. You got to figure out a way. And shockingly, it worked for the Browns with a guy like Landry doing it, because he's not typically that like leader in the clubhouse type of guy, right? He's tends to be more of give me the ball and get out of the way. If you're not going to give me the ball, you're the worst quarterback ever, right? And
Yeah.
he'll tell you that you suck, right? To his own quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And it was interesting for the Browns because, when Juju was asked about playing them in the playoffs, Juju said, "Yeah, I'm not worried about them beating us because it's the Browns."
Right.
It's the same old Browns. And then they got slaughtered by the Browns.
Yep.
So yeah, if other teams had that mentality about that's how that other team is, they come in kind of already feeling like, well, we already have this game won, because I mean they already had the mentality that the other team has a losing attitude. So
right. And on the flip side of that, the other team is coming in saying we're just going to whoop them because they're a crap team, right? I don't care how much hype they have right now or how great they're doing. It's still the Browns. It's still the Bills. We're going to go in there and we're going to whoop them. Like, who cares if they're playing well right now? And other teams that are good, they feed off that the same way, right? And they end up staying up here too, because they get so accustomed to just being like, oh, it's just we're going to go in here and win again. Like, we're playing the Browns. Oh, cool. Sweet. Sweet. Another win. Cool. All right. Cool. This will be a fun week, right? And it changes everything. I mean, I think every one of us who's played sports knows that when you have momentum on your side, things tend to go your way, right? When you're a winning franchise, things go your way. When you're a losing franchise, it seems like all hell is breaking loose all the time. It's like you can't ever get out.
yeah. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the Patriots having so much success over the years in the past, like a Randy Moss coming to their team, or like, these other players that would come there, they wanted to come because it was a winning mentality, and you came thinking, I have a chance of winning a Super Bowl here. And
right.
It didn't matter what year it was, because you had Tom Brady and you had Bill Belichick, so it was just like, I'm on this team, so
there's a good possibility you're going to be in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you said, I would not be surprised if Tampa is going to draw in some big names again during the offseason, just because it's Tom Brady. So,
yep, absolutely.
That definitely could happen. Well, we have been able to cover a lot of great stuff. I'm trying to look at the podcast page here on Facebook to see if there's anything that we left out. I don't think there was. I think we kind of covered all the major things that had happened. I don't think we were able to talk about the NFL awards that had happened. Basically, like you said, you mentioned earlier, Aaron Rodgers winning his third MVP again. They drafted Jordan Love. They kind of basically said, hey, we don't want to help you out. we don't want to draft like a wide receiver or someone who could actually help you, because apparently Devontae Adams is the only one that can catch a football for the Packers. So, did that give Aaron Rodgers the motivation to win his third MVP, or was it just Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers and going in there and doing it?
Yeah, to me, I think it's LaFleur quite a bit too, right? Like, he's got you, because to me, this team didn't change very much from the previous year, right? And they were not good the previous year. I think once you got rid of Mike McCarthy, or I guess 2 years ago it would have been, right, when McCarthy left and then LaFleur took over, you could start to feel the change. And then Rodgers, I think, just got put back into a system where he could just play good football, and he's a good quarterback, right? So his numbers wise, he was deserving of the MVP this year. Josh Allen was in the mix, and it depends on what you look for. Because when I say MVP, to me, it's like, yes, I want him to have really good numbers, but to me, it's like that guy proves to me each and every week that team is successful because of him, right? Or he's the difference in the absolute to why that team is the best. And I don't know that you could say that for Rodgers this year, because I thought their defense was really good, as well. But yeah, I mean, he put up sick numbers. You can't take that away from the guy. And then he came out at the end of the season pissed off, and acting like he doesn't want to play football anymore or whatever, so we'll see what happens with him. Most of the awards I was cool with. I didn't really have any issues with any of them except for Coach of the Year. I think they got that real wrong. Yes, the Browns had a great year and they broke a long streak, but Sean McDermott broke that streak 3 years ago in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
And didn't get a Coach of a Year then. Got them their first playoff win this year and took them to an AFC championship, had a better record, and he didn't get Coach of the Year, right? Like, so to me, that one was a little slight, but the rest of them I was pretty cool with. I mean, the rest of them kind of fell in line with everything. Alex Smith absolutely deserved, that award for being the comeback player of the year. So most of that stuff I felt was, pretty spot on. Some of the coaching ones were a little questionable, but
yeah. I mean, the coaching, I can see a strong case for the Bills coach. I really thought maybe the Dolphins coach could have, been in there as well, from the team that the Dolphins were, to 1 year of, putting some draft picks together. I mean, that team had players like the Jets this year where players were saying, I want out. Like, this is not a good team. I want out, trade me. And the Dolphins were just trading them like crazy. And now, they had a winning season and they barely missed the playoffs,
Right. Well, even like Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, I mean, another great year. Andy Reid in Kansas City. I mean, they lost one game.
Yeah.
Like, they were the defending Super Bowl champs and they lost one game during the regular season. I mean, you could have argued that he was Coach of the Year to be able to do that again. But the thing with the Browns to me was that he didn't even coach one game and they won, right? It was like, so they really need him? Like, cause he didn't even coach one of the games.
Yeah, the wild card game, I think, is the one he didn't coach.
Yeah, because he had like COVID or whatever, right? So he was out, so he didn't even coach a game, and they won without him. So it was like, is this guy truly the Coach of the Year? They didn't even need him to win, right? But I think you could have made arguments for quite a few coaches this year that put together some strong seasons, some good campaigns, and I felt like just for all the historical stuff that McDermott did this year and the way it's been trending, that he would have been up there for it. But yeah, I mean, the Browns, I get it. It's a long streak and it's broken, and they had a good season. And realistically, they were a fumble out of the end zone from beating Kansas City. I feel like I was almost like, we're going to watch a Bills and Browns AFC championship. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Right. Like, so they were close. I mean, so they're a good team, and they got a great offensive line, so I think that, he did a great job over there, obviously, and he's the best coach that they've had there in a very long time, so it's definitely on the upswing for Cleveland, I think.
Yeah. And then, of course, being biased, but I was happy that Aaron Donald won his third Defensive Player of the Year award. I know JJ kind of came out and talked some trash, saying that his brother TJ should have won it because he had better stats than Aaron Donald. But I mean, Aaron Donald is kind of a transcendent defensive player. Like, you don't see those type of people come around very often. And I really do think the last player that was like that was Lawrence Taylor. Like, I really think that them two are comparable in how transcendent they were on defense. Like,
yeah, I agree with that.
That he could carry a team like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Donald wins a fourth one at some point and breaks the record, because right now he's tied with Lawrence Taylor and JJ Watt for winning 3. Both of them won 3. So, but I really think that Aaron will win a fourth at some point and have the most defensive player awards for that. Of course, he accepted the award and said, I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm holding the Lombardi trophy. So, and he said that. Yeah, exactly. And that's what he said when he won the NFL Top 100 Players. He was voted as the number 1 overall player. They give you like a little trophy for that too. And he said the same thing. He's like, I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm holding the Lombardi. So I really was hoping they were going to win the year they went against the Patriots a couple of years ago, just because I felt like he deserved it. And I thought that would be the best chance for him to win it at that point. But we'll see. Fingers hoped every year is always,
right.
You're always hoping that year is going to be the year for your team. So, yeah, we'll see with the Rams if we can keep our top defense going. Feel like we're probably going to lose a lot of pieces in free agency. But we'll see what McVay can do with the pieces that he has.
Right.
but yeah, that I think about wraps things up with everything going on with that. Was there any other major like sports news or anything like that that I guess was, trending or going on that we needed to bring up that you can think of?
No, I mean, I feel like we hit pretty much most of the good stuff that's taken place this past week here. We didn't really talk about your massive trade, but that was kind of
Um,
last week news. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I think we pretty much covered most. I mean, we're obviously getting in. The only things we didn't really touch on is, Tom Brady throwing the Super Bowl trophy, from boat to boat and getting all tore up and, having a good
Oh
old
my
time.
gosh. He was
But
smashed, man.
yeah, he was.
Smashed.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think we can hit mostly everything, but yeah, this week tends to be kind of like a little lull most of the time, right? Everybody kind of takes a breath, but yeah, I think we hit pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be, especially with today with Trevor Lawrence's pro day. I think
Yep.
every day is going to be another top person's pro day. You
Yep.
know,
Yep. We'll start seeing a lot of draft stuff. All the mockery will start taking place daily. So
yep,
it's gonna be fun.
exactly.
This is fun. I like it. I like the lead up to the draft and stuff. It is pointless as some of it is. It's still fun to kind of to watch it and see it happen and just hear different things about guys that are coming up. And it's always fun to see who the guy is going to be that like supposedly shoots up the draft board and comes out of nowhere as the guy that's like makes his jump. And there's always one of them every year, so it's always fun to see. Or there's always that guy that like just dominates the combine, right? So it's always interesting to see who's going to be that guy too.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing the combine this year, are they?
I thought they were going to do
Is
it
it
like in a
open?
more regional kind of like fashion thing, but maybe they're not.
Can't remember. I thought for some reason I thought I saw that they had posted, with all the COVID stuff that they weren't going to have the combine this year. They were just going to do the pro days.
Yeah,
But I'm not 100% positive on that. One thing I guess I could bring up real quick just to wrap things up too. Any UFC fans out there, there's a pay-per-view tomorrow that's going to be on, which will be good. Kuzman versus Banks for the title, which will be good. But the major news coming out of UFC today that they announced that the winner in the heavyweight championship fight between Stipe and Ngannou will fight Bones Jones for the heavyweight title after that. So Bones Jones has the winner of the heavyweight championship match coming up here in March.
cool.
So it'll be interesting to see Bones Jones moving up to heavyweight and trying to take on the big guys with him being so slim and everything. He's a kind of a lanky guy, but doesn't mean he can't handle or rock with the heavyweights. But you
Right.
got to worry about that power sometimes because Ngannou has that one hit and you're asleep. Like,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a little extra weight coming at you behind some of that force, so
yeah, exactly. So yeah, just wanted to kind of go over, bring that up real quick before we wrap things up. So as always, we appreciate, everyone listening on and watching on YouTube. If you watch on YouTube, we got a lot of views for the Super Bowl contest, so we were really happy about that. Congratulations again. I forgot to shout out to Brian Boo Boo Bar. He used to be my co-host when we first started this thing. He was the only one that predicted the Bucks were going to win. So he
sweet.
didn't matter what score he predicted because he was the only one that picked the Bucks. So he got the cool Mandalorian artist print that one of the local artists in Utah made. So we're going to be sending that to him in the mail. We might try to do something, even though no one else picked the Bucks. We might try to still do closest score gets like second place and third place. So we'll see about that because we want to still hand out those cool artist prints that we got for the contest. So check us out on YouTube, Sports Harder Podcast. Check us out Facebook, Sports Harder Podcast as well. Instagram, sports_harder_podcast. Twitter at Sports Harder P, capital S, capital P. As always, you can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the major places you can listen to us. And go start listening to Colt's podcast, and I'll let you shout out for all of that. Give out all the info how they can listen to all your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the Buffalo Nerd. It's on all the platforms, that Matt just mentioned. You can find me on all those same places. If you want to get to the main hub, you can just go to the buffalonerd.com. It's got the RSS feed there. I've got a little shop attached to it. Some information about myself, the foundation that I'm going to be donating any proceeds that the show receives this year is going to be going to that foundation. So you can find out a little information about them. If you want to feel like donating to, that charity, there's links on the site to donate directly to the charity. But yeah, there's Patreon page. I'm starting kind of like a fun little thing to get some people engaged, calling it the Nerd Mafia. So if you guys want to check that out, pretty much just head over to the Buffalo Nerd. You'll find everything that you need. Look me on every social channel. Shout me out. I got, you guys can hit me up, email, phone call, whatever you guys, hit me up. Here listening, looking to meet people, talk about cool organizations and stuff. So if you know of a charity organization, somebody like that you think would be cool to have on have on the show, that kind of stuff, just shoot me a message over at the website. So Matt, appreciate you guys. Chris, I know wasn't here with us because he's probably winning money right now or something in Vegas. But thanks for having me on. It was a good chat. I love what you guys are doing. Keep it up. Thanks again for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully, I know you'll probably be busy and everything, but hopefully we can do it again with having Chris on. That way we can have, all three of us have a cool episode, doing that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can keep in contact, and we'll share your stuff on all of our platforms, so that way people can find it and get to it, and definitely donate to that charity, which is really cool. I think me and Chris, we have some proceeds from people listening to our podcast, so we might send some money your way from that to help out with your charity, and
Cool.
especially
Yeah.
with coming on and helping me out with being a co-host today. So
Yeah, man, sounds good. You head over there and do it. Let's go. Same thing goes for everybody. I like to tell people on the show, it's not always about money. If I understand, like, I'm not a rich dude, right? Like, people can't always afford to give money to causes and things like that. But sometimes just spreading it out and talking about it, puts it in front of somebody that can, or somebody
yeah.
that can make a big difference. So yeah, it's good to just talk about. So appreciate that. Spreading it around, guys. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, awesome, sounds good. Well, until next time, we will catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.